I want to begin by recognizing tonight's festivities takes place on the ancestral, unceded, and traditional territories of the Coast Salish people, the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations. I'm honored to introduce this very special night and what is about to follow. Age of Union Alliance, led by author and tech leader, environmental activist Dax Da Silva, has gathered us here today for the official launch and film premiere of Age of Union in Vancouver. Woo! This truly is a special evening. He's so excited, and as well you should be. We will be hearing from Dax very shortly. But first, for those of you who don't already know, Age of Union is a nonprofit environmental alliance that supports and makes visible a global community of changemakers working on the ground to protect the planet's threatened species and ecosystems. Many of those changemakers, all of you, are here tonight. Together, you are helping solve critical environmental challenges around the world and inspiring high-impact change. This work is truly incredible, and we are so grateful. Now, it is my absolute pleasure to invite up the person of the hour to introduce tonight's short films. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Dax Da Silva.
Thank you. Thanks, Red. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Vancouver launch of Age of Union. It was delayed a few months because of the pandemic, obviously, but it's amazing to be home. Obviously, we have some amazing news that you might have seen on TV or in the papers over the last couple of days, and we're going to be talking about that. But I just wanted to welcome everybody to the evening. We're going to be sharing a couple of the films that the Age of Union team, which I'm going to introduce a little bit later, put together over the last year. But we've really only been launched for 5 months. So in 5 months, we're now on our 7th project. We're really focused on the urgency of this decade in terms of the environment. And that's what you're going to see. Yeah. We got to come together. Humans have to care about coming back into harmony with nature. You know, reconciling with nature, reconciling with indigenous people, reconciling with the importance and urgency of what we have before us in terms of a challenge. And I think we have to change the narrative in this next decade. And so what we're trying to do is not have the narrative of doom and gloom. We want to have the narrative of action and have the narrative of hope. And so that's what the films are about. We're going to show you 2 short films. One's called The Heart of a Mission, which is us meeting our first project, Jungle Keepers in the Peruvian Amazon. And the second film is We Are the St. Lawrence River. I'm born in Vancouver, but live in the beautiful city of Montreal. And I can see the beautiful St. Lawrence River from my house, and it's 5 minutes from the Lightspeed office. And we are 70% the St. Lawrence River, those of us that live in Montreal. And it is the lifeblood of the province. And so we hope that you love this meditation on the St. Lawrence River and the introduction to the Jungle Keepers projects and many more films to come. And then we're going to have a panel discussion, and then we'll all have a time to opportunity to network and chat about the environment and to get to know one another. So with that, I'll let you enjoy the films. Thanks for being here. Hope you all enjoyed the films. St. Lawrence River was one of our first projects. We're doing restoration all along the riverbanks. It's a 3-year, 5-year project, and restoring that natural beauty. And if you think that you've never seen the river like that, I think the films that we do in BC with all the spectacular beauty that we're going to be doing in BC, it's going to be show how beautiful this country is. It's incredibly beautiful. But what we wanted to talk about today, so we started Age of Union with a $40 million pledge back in October and announced 5 projects. The first projects were jungle keepers, as you saw, that Amazon project, the Peruvian Amazon, where we're funding land conservation as well as ranger programs, hiring former loggers as rangers. We've also got the Congo with Canadian Ape Alliance, where we're going to be headed later this summer to do another film, a reforestation project coupled with subsistence gardens for the people of Haiti in the country of Haiti. And what am I missing? And Calawate, one more project in Indonesia. And then since then, we've announced, if you've been paying attention with our social media, a sponsorship of Sea Shepherd with an incredible vessel that's now called the Age of Union, which is doing campaigns all around the world. Which we just got back from France and Egypt, and showing how we can make a big impact on the dolphins that are being caught in the fishing nets, and all that can be done to save our oceans. But today we're here to talk about the beautiful province that we live in here, British Columbia. Out of that $40 million, we've already committed 26. So we're moving quickly because the planet needs urgency. And we were so inspired by the work being done in BC by BC Parks Foundation. Obviously, we're also working with Nature Conservancy of Canada, so we have guests from both of those organizations here with us today. And we also have the BC Minister of the Environment, George Heyman. He was here with us, a very special guest. And of course, David Suzuki, who is a very, very special guest and has been a big supporter of ours. So with that, if you haven't seen the news, Age of Union's committed $14.5 million to protect our most beautiful and most precious landscapes and ecosystems in BC. We're starting with two protected areas. One is the French Creek Estuary on Vancouver Island. This is a critical eagle habitat, and also the Pitt River watershed, which is so close to Vancouver and contains all sorts of wildlife that I'm going to invite now Andrew Day, CEO of BC Parks Foundation, up here to talk a little bit about all of these protected areas and how this partnership it came together and how it's going to work. So Andrew Day, everyone.
Every day I get up in the morning, I go outside and I look at the sky, look at the trees, and I ask that I'm prepared for the day. That whatever comes my way, that I'm approaching that with a larger will and a humility. And it's amazing. I never know what's going to happen in my day. I'm the luckiest guy in this province. I get phone calls from a grade 5 student who says, "I'm concerned about climate change. I'm anxious about it. What can I do?" And then I get calls from a grade 9 student who says, I'm organizing my class, we're going to go out, chop wood, we're going to raise some money, we're going to contribute to one of your campaigns. I get a call from a pensioner up in northern BC who says, I can give you $5 this month, and I'll give you $5 next month. It's all I can afford, but I want to let you know how much I care about BC and I love what you're doing. I get calls from my staff who say, I got this idea on what we can do better. I got board members who give me guidance. I got partners like NCC, David Suzuki Foundation, others who are doing amazing work, want to work together. Beautiful people from all walks of life. And it's like this song, right? All these singers, but there's a song that's being sung. So in July, I got a call from some guy, Montreal, Dax De Silva. I said, who's this guy? Talking. And within a couple minutes, it's like he's singing the same song as all these other people I'm talking to. But he's got this kind of cool urgency to it. He's got this really cool belief in art bringing art into this mix, bringing music, bringing poetry, bringing technology, bringing culture, being inclusive. And it was like I just had this whole sense of, wow, this is really really speaking my language. I mean, this isn't doom and gloom. It's not hand wringing and finger wagging and all that stuff. This is like, let's do stuff. Let's get stuff done. It's like that startup mentality.
Absolutely.
And the thing that was the coolest was this like resonance around, this is about all of us. It's not about me. I'm part of this, but I want this to be about everyone. I said, look, we do a lot of stuff, but we do it by crowdsourcing. We don't do, just big donor stuff, right? We want everyone parks are for everyone, and so is the opportunity to give back and be grateful, and to have a chance to participate and do something active and real that gives us the opportunity to make a difference. And Dax is like, that's what I'm about. That's what I'm trying to create here. And out of that simple conversation, we had a number of conversations, and we got to know each other better. And then one day he just said, I just want to do this big thing. I want to really give back to BC. I want to keep BC beautiful. And it was like, it was like the thermal that the eagles catch that just takes them really, really high in the sky, and they get a current, and they go all the way from Alaska and northern Canada, down through BC, down through the US. And I could all of a sudden, I could see these kind of vague visions. I could see things becoming real. I could see that we're just going to go so far, so far. So what I want you to do is join me in as loudly and as wildly and as enthusiastically as you can celebrating this man. Woo! Woo! And while you're up, keep celebrating. I want you to celebrate his family that raised him to do this. And all of your friends, all of his friends that are here who support him and love him. And David Suzuki. And all of the people, all of the elders, all of the people who, upon whose shoulders we are fortunate enough to ride, to stand, to move forward, who have fought and built a platform for us to do amazing things. Thank you. Okay, because now you got to sit down. You got to listen to us talk. You got to watch more films. It was like our stretch break.
All right.
Let's watch this thing.
Yes. All right, roll.
All right. Everyone, we're now going to invite Dax and Andrew and Nancy Newhouse, Vice President from the British Columbia region of the Nature Conservancy of Canada, to join us. We're going to have a little panel discussion to talk about the Age of Union and this incredible partnership between these two wonderful organizations. And rest assured, we're also going to have an opportunity to celebrate. After this discussion, our panelists will be joining all of you back in the foyer where we can continue the conversation. So with that, we're going to get started. Dax, thank you $14.5 million. That is an incredible gift. I think you alluded to it earlier in your opening remarks. Perhaps give us a little more perspective of your philosophy in coming up with the name Age of Union and why it was so important.
Yeah, I think what Age of Union means is we have to come back into a place that we are in harmony with nature. We've been a very, despite all our problems and challenges in our societies, we have been a very successful species. But it's come at the cost. To a lot of our ecosystems, to a lot of other species. And we need to, and in this decade, we need to reunite, reconcile with nature, come back together. And I think that we can do that. And I think that what we want this movement to be, what we want Age of Union to be, is a record of action, and action breeds hope. Because if we're doom and gloom, then the conversation's over. And that's what Age of Union is. It's about what are we going to do and how are we going to make sure that the discussion is different and that we build a real foundation before in the next 10 years.
It's clearly evident from the films that we just saw and from just watching you speak so passionately about conservation. So as someone that was born and raised here, right here in our beautiful province of BC and in Vancouver, where did this passion come from?
I think it's so, you are surrounded by so much natural beauty in British Columbia that I think from a very early age, you're more connected to nature than perhaps other people are in other places. And my wonderful parents who are with me here tonight, my father and mother, as well as with my sister, we did a lot of camping. We did a lot of outdoor activity. I became passionate about the natural scenery where I grew up in Richmond, and then was protesting the logging of Clayoquot Sound when I was a teenager. And that really started me as an environmental activist. And as I moved through my life, I always thought, what is the day will come where I'll have the resources and we'll have the knowledge and the experience, which I think Lightspeed and projects like Never Apart have imparted to me over the years to do something serious about conservation. So that day is now, but it really is BC and its natural bounty that inspired that in me, and I think does resonate with British Columbians.
Absolutely. But obviously, as we've seen, your work doesn't just reside here in our beautiful province. You have literally, in a very short period of time, taken on massive projects globally. Why is it so important to do so for our planet, to really get involved in such a manner as you have?
Well, as you can see from the films, we are on the ground with the projects. We're there with jungle keepers in the Amazon to understand what the day-to-day struggle is, that it's not just a line on a spreadsheet of a budget. We understand what it looks like. We understand what the challenges are. We understand how do we win? How do we stop there from being these losses? So we need to be on the ship on Sea Shepherd, which we just were. Yeah. And it was seasick, but you need to if we want to make a real impact, we can't just be writing checks and not getting involved. And that's what we like. We like these organizations that are action oriented and that make things happen. And we want to be there so that we can also share that on social media. We can share that with the world, because I think that being on the front lines gives us a particular perspective, and we're learning about this world.
Right.
And we want everybody to learn about it, because everybody's got to learn about it, and we all have to care deeply about this in order for us to make sure that we're making the right progress for this next decade.
So in the films, I'm not familiar with some of these organizations that you have selected. Mm-hmm. Perhaps you can share with us how you choose the organizations you choose to partner with, to be with, and to support. Yeah, so
it was an interesting process. Age of Union came from the book that I wrote in 2019, Age of Union, Igniting the Changemaker. 4 pillars for a toolkit for somebody that wants to make change. Leadership, culture, spirituality, and nature. Those things are interconnected. And I think that when the pandemic came around, we decided, me, Emma, who's a part of JW Marriott, we all decided that we wanted to do a free version of the book, do an ebook, do an audiobook, and we were going to have some of the people that we had started talking to about conservation as Instagram Live guests. And as we spoke to Jungle Keepers, as we spoke to Canadian Ape Alliance, as we spoke to all these different scrappy, startup-ish, organizations, it quickly became apparent to me that these were going to become our first conservation projects. So we'll work with groups like Jungle Keepers that feel very much like Lightspeed did when we got our first Series A investment. They've got all the framework of the teams and so on, but they just need the funding and the fuel, to protect more of the river, to fund rangers. And then we'll also work with Nature Conservancy, which has got more infrastructure, or BC Parks has got more infrastructure, where we can help them accelerate what they're doing. They can protect the river, the St. Lawrence, in much shorter time before there's more erosion, for example. And so there's a big spectrum of organizations, but I think the thing that's in common is that they're entrepreneurial. And as an entrepreneur, I relate to the drive and the entrepreneurialism of those of the people, the biologists, the people that don't have the degree and that are just out there saving nature, and it's inspiring, and I think it's mutually inspiring that we're there with them and trying to understand their projects, and obviously we care and want to see them succeed, and it's our common success. The one thing that we all have in common is the earth.
How cool is it to have your family here and your loved ones?
It's amazing.
How have they inspired you? Because I'm just trying to get at where you really have this passion. I can see it as you talk and as you speak, and as you've been speaking for the last few days now. How did they inspire you?
I think my parents are deeply spiritual people. I think environmentalism is about doing something for something that's greater than you, and I think that they, in their own lives, are people that just give, and they each have their own form of mission, and I think giving for the greater good and giving without wanting anything in return is something that they've both taught me in such beautiful ways.
Oh, it's amazing.
A round of applause for them.
Yeah. And how cool is it that you have David Suzuki joining you tonight?
It's amazing.
I'm not sure.
It's a huge inspiration to me. Yeah.
And David, what a great birthday gift. I'm not sure if everyone knows, but someone shared with me it's David Suzuki's birthday, I believe tomorrow. So happy birthday. But what a gift to see the next generation really step up in such a meaningful way.
I mean, David's been so generous with his time over the last couple of years. We've had lunches and talked about, how do we keep the movement that we're all building together. How do we do the next step? So he's been such a mentor when it comes to the work that we're all looking to do, and obviously we're going to be working with his foundation as well on some exciting yet to be announced projects.
Stay tuned. There you have it. That's awesome. Now, we were here for the premiere of these films. Why was it so important for you to share your message through this medium?
Yeah, so I think it's become really important. Video has become just a really important format, and as you can see, we think that documenting and being on the ground with a project, and I think that, as you'll see with the Sea Shepherd film that's coming up, really showing the change maker in action is important, because we want you to be able to relate to the people that are doing the conservation work, and we want to show the power of the individual that cares, and everybody can do something in their own capacity. So we want to show those protagonists that are working for the earth, because we can all be protagonists for the planet. It's like we need 8 billion change makers instead of 8 billion individualists, and that's what I think the film is going to get at, as well as telling the story of what's going on that has to be addressed. And everything is solvable, if we act.
All right, I'm going to bring Andrew into the conversation now. And thank you, Andrew, for just sharing how the two of you connected. And I think that is brilliant, because I do think as British Columbians, there are folks young and old who really want to make a difference. And what I love about your organization is you listen and you support everyone as best that you can. Just tell me what this partnership means to you and our province.
Well, I think it's such, like I said, it's a kind of this updraft. It builds on the support of tens of thousands of people. Dax was attracted to us because he saw all of these people actively involved. And so, what it means to those people is it's like a big sign. It's like a really big sign. It's a neon flashing sign saying, like, yeah, you guys are rocking it, and keep going. Yeah. And that's just pure inspiration for a lot of people. And it's also a sign, I think, for other people to come into this movement. And to me, it's important that this movement is inclusive and it's diverse, and that the leaders of this movement are people from all segments of our society. And that's going to make it a much stronger movement. This also means places for other species to live free from harassment. The elk in the Pitt River Valley, the grizzlies there, the eagles, we are very anthropocentric. And the more that we can just, do things for other species out of a sort of a selflessness, that I think that's critical, right? So those are just a few of the things that it means, and it means a new friend.
Absolutely. So let's talk about those areas that Age of Union is working on. What was so important to the BC Parks Foundation that we really focus on this area or these areas?
Yeah, well, we wouldn't have really been able to do these projects without the Age of Union, right? They were too much money. It was too. In the one case, the Pitt River, the guy said, "Look, I'll give you a couple months to raise like millions of dollars." We're like, like crowdsourcing, you're going to get a certain way, but it's hard to get that big. So they just wouldn't have been protected. They would have been developed. The French Creek Estuary had approvals for like 386 units, and again, because we came to the table with real money and stature and security, we could get a purchase and sale agreement, and we convinced the developer in French Creek to sell a property valued at $5.28 million for 1.9.
Wow.
Now, the Pitt River valued at 8.2, we got down to 5.7 because they wanted to do the right thing. They wanted to find, and we were just, because we weren't a small group that was just trying but couldn't sign an agreement.
Right.
And that's what this allowed us to do, right? It's the serious backing.
Right.
And there's a lot more to the environmental movement than purchasing land and all that. But this, more than anything, I think what's really important here beyond the money is the goodwill, is the inspiration, is the movement.
Right.
And this is just updraft. It's just updraft for this movement, and we get up higher, then we just start getting on currents that will take us further and further.
Okay. Well, let's talk about this budding relationship, because it is a budding relationship. You two met or had your initial conversation back in June. What is it like to work with Dax? What is it like to work with Age of Union? Obviously, when I first met Dax or learned of Dax, I certainly know him from his entrepreneurial side and his spirit, but I look at you and I don't necessarily think of you as perhaps the typical environmentalist, but tell us, what is this relationship like working with Age of Union?
It is so cool because like Marriott, and I gotta say, Dax has got the coolest people working for him.
Yeah.
He really does, and that says a lot to me about who he is. But Marriott is, I want to talk to you. So we're talking. She said, I want to, Dax really supports. I want to come out there with a photographer, and I write poetry. We want to meet with the people who have helped protect, who fought to protect these places for years. We want to meet with the indigenous people. We want to photograph them. We want to tell their stories. We want to do that through art. And that's cool, because that's going to reach a lot more people. And all of a sudden, it's an expressive endeavor, right? It's human. It's about human connection and human feelings and human emotions and stories. And that's a very rare. I don't get that a lot, from funders or whatever. So that's one example. But then he's also got teams of technology people and ecologists and stuff who are saying, like, how can we monitor these places? How can we do anti-poaching devices? What can we do? How can we use technology to make this, really like turn up the dial and amplify this? So that whole spirit and then the entrepreneurial spirit just makes it like mind-blowingly exciting. It's just so exciting. I love it. And they organize events. Like, we don't have to. I'm like an event coordinator, It's like, wow, these people come.
Yeah. No, this is a great celebration. And certainly I met our next panelist at the bar as we were getting our drinks. But perhaps you can tell us about the work that is happening at the NCC, the Nature Conservancy of Canada.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Andy. As you said, it's fantastic to have an event organized for us and to have the contribution to BC for conservation. It really it moves us. We're passionate, as you are, about land. And when I think about my own reasons for wanting to conserve land, I think when I was a child, nature was just incredibly precious to me. I spent a lot of time, and then I trained as a scientist, so I went from the heart to the mind and spent a lot of time in my brain figuring out how all the systems work. And now I'm really feeling like I'm bringing back to the heart and making those connections. And to me, it's that cycle. And it really is about loving the people that are around you, loving the land, loving the water. And I feel like the way that you're able to express the work that's being done in an artistic form, with poetry, with images, is so beautiful. And that, I think it's the beauty. I think it's the awe of nature that is what is inspirational for us. Our work, when I talk, I'll go into the science side of the work for a moment. So we work primarily, in the past, we worked in the southern part of British Columbia, in the Canadian Rockies, in the southern interior, and the west coast, mostly on lands that were privately owned, that were either donated to us or we bought in the very most important places. And then we steward those to the best of our ability forever, and work with the communities that live in those areas to make sure that those lands are used and are relevant and that there's a caring connection there. And that's one of the things that I love about NCC is we've got the strength of a national organization, so you can see work across the country from coast to coast, but we actually have people based in the communities that understand what those needs are and are able to really make sure that we're very connected to people, and our kind of highest observation is that people are part of nature. It's not a separate consideration, and I think that's a fundamental shift that's happening globally, and certainly with the leadership of many people in British Columbia, we're really seeing that shift happening with the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People Act that's being enacted in BC. Things are changing, and really it's such an exciting time. So we are now working across the province. We're using those same entrepreneurial skills that we've used on the fee simple private land pieces to work on Crown land, where there's a shared interest with nations and the province towards some sort of durable conservation outcome. So we might work with buying privately held forest tenures, mining tenures, ski hills, like in the case of the Jumbo ski hill. We were able to work with the Tsuut'ina Nation and the province and the developer and come up with a sort of a win-win-win solution that everyone could be proud of, and that we could move forward and start to heal those relationships. So I guess I think of things in threes, and I think it's what we do is connect land to land. So it's about those connections for wildlife. We collect people to the land, and then like we've been doing tonight, and you've done a marvelous job of Dax, is connecting people to people. Mm-hmm. So I see it at those three levels.
Now, Nancy, you've been doing this work, and your organization has been doing this work for decades. What does an announcement like this really do for an organization like yours? Knowing, like, does this put more wind in your sails? How did you react to such news? I mean, this is the largest single donation for our province.
It's phenomenal, and Andy and I had the pleasure of traveling together last fall and talking about ways that we could work together, and I think that's the same. I mean, there are several conservation organizations in British Columbia. There's a lot of them, and there is so much work to be done, and so it's fantastic that we're able to just start picking those projects off. And as Andy said, if you don't get them, sometimes, especially on these private land pieces, if we don't get funding in a certain amount of time, those opportunities are gone, and those developments happen. So I was totally thrilled to see the momentum and see the energy in the room tonight is really exciting.
And while you have the floor, perhaps you can share some of the other projects that we should be aware of that you're working with or on throughout this province of ours.
South we're working on, we think of it in sort of habitat buckets. So we're working on the grasslands in the South Okanagan and in the Kootenays. And so that's really about creating those connected grassland habitats, one of the most endangered habitats on the planet. We work on old growth forests. We've done some protection of fee simple lands in some beautiful parts of BC. And we are also working on estuaries. So an example, we just worked with the Newhouse Nation up by Bella Coola and protected estuary and riparian area. And today they have given us the name, but I wasn't able to get it, but we will be able to actually acknowledge the Newhouse name of the land. And so making those connections to both culture and the integration of the ecosystems there is really important to us.
Well, please keep up the good work.
Thank you.
It's much needed. And as we've seen from Dax and the Age of Union, you're really engaged in quite a few projects in a very short period. You have just, both feet, you've just jumped right in there.
Yeah.
Is that because there is a dire need and urgency to act now? Or is that just you being the tech startup person that you are, you just want to get in there and get her done?
It's both.
It's both. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's there's obvious urgency. There's obvious opportunity for things to get momentum sooner, and then I think as a startup tech person, we like to see immediacy. We like to see results. We like to make it happen. Is one of the core values of Lightspeed. It's just called Lightspeed. Yeah. So yes.
Andrew, Nancy, do you agree? Is there a sense of urgency in a lot of the projects that you're working on right now that we need action now?
Very much so, I would say. Yes, 100%. So we've just worked on our own strategic plan for the next 8 years and looking at how we can help. I'm jumping into other topics, but how we can help Canada get to 30 by 30.
30 by 30, yeah.
And we feel that as an organization we need to double our impact over the next 8 years. So we are ramping up as fast as we can, and we know that all the other organizations that are working are needing to do the same. And it's not just the conservation organizations, it's governments, it's corporations, it's individuals, all thinking about how precious this place is and how important it is to keep finding solutions.
You feel the same?
Well, timing's everything,
Yeah.
and timing's now.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, and I think this is why it's so important to recognize the efforts of David and others who have fought long and hard in times when it wasn't,
Right.
when people weren't open as much to it, when you had to tell a doom and gloom story to wake people up,
Right.
Yeah.
and when you had to be, you had to bring a different approach, and you really had to, fight hard. And a lot of people have fought very hard for a long time to wake people up, and now we're very fortunate to be in a time where there are a lot of people who are like, yeah, what can I do? Yeah. And I experienced that in the business sector, I experienced it in the government sector, I experienced, there's a lot of people who really want to make good things happen, and we're very fortunate to live in that time. Of course, there's lots of those other forces still working against, but boy, do we got a federal government who's committed, we've got a provincial government who's, got a lot of great people in them, including George and the Honourable Minister Heyman, and employees in the BC Park Service who just, are amazing. Jenny and Kim are here tonight, but tons of people, and just, there's just such opportunity right now.
Yeah. And Nancy, you mentioned COP26, and there has been a lot of talk around the 30 by 30 goal. That is, for everyone who is unfamiliar, the goal is to conserve at least 30% of land and oceans by 2030. That's not a lot of time. So I'll start with Dax. How can society, business leaders, and government leaders, they're all in the room here tonight, how can they come together, because you're all about convening and bringing everyone together, to make this a reality?
And I think it's great to have a goal like that. By 2030, 30% of the planet, marine protected areas and land conservation, that's what this gift is about, is to get everybody to start to understand that we need to lock down we need to start to define and find a path to this outcome. And it's very doable. I think we can do it. I was talking to Andy earlier, and he's got a plan even of where they want to be by 2025. And we're helping to accelerate that plan with everything we do. But business leaders, tech leaders, people that have been successful, everyday people, government, everybody can be involved in getting us to that goal. And wouldn't it be amazing if we could finally feel like we were actually guardians of this planet instead of what we are today in terms of benefiting a lot from the planet, but not guarding it. Right. And that is, I think, the position we need to shift ourselves into. We have dominion over this planet, but what that means is not to dominate it. It means to guard it and safeguard it. And that's, I think, the mindset change that will get us to 30 by 30.
Andrew?
Yeah, I always say to people, just do what you can, and do it, from a place of what you're passionate about. We looked at how can we gather data about what's going on in parks, and it was you raise all this money and hire a bunch of scientists and blah, blah, blah. And it was okay, that's going to cost a ton of money, and it's not very participatory. So we just said, everyone who's out there all the time, collect observations while you're out there. We're now over 2 million observations of over 15,000 species by over 30,000 people in BC in the last couple of years.
Wow.
And I say, if you're a reporter, what you can do is you can write great stories about this. You're an accountant, what you can do is you can create standards for municipalities and governments to put natural assets on their books. Whatever you do and whatever you're good at and whatever you're passionate about, do that. And do a small thing or do whatever you can do. And what I see is all these people doing all these things, and they just need that sort of sense of being a part of a movement and seeing results, seeing things happen, seeing that what they do inspires this, and then some people are going to see what he does, and they're going to, and he's going to reach out. He's already reaching out in his business community, saying, "Hello, people, join me," and that's how it goes. It's just this beautiful, kind of circle of goodwill that just draws more people in. Or as Cecil Paul Wahed, a good friend of mine, said, it's a magic canoe. it always has room for more paddles. It always gets bigger, more paddles. The more paddles that are in it, the further and faster it goes.
And Nancy?
Yeah, I love what you're both saying about sort of the entrepreneurial spirit and the idea of all the different disciplines that come together. It's literally every walk of life, from politicians to economists to miners to loggers, that are looking at the challenges ahead of us and trying to find those solutions. And that's something that I love in the work that I do every day, as I get to work with these super motivated people that are looking at the problem like a crystal, right? They're turning it from every lens. And I remember an elder, we did a blanket ceremony with the Lower Kootenay band, which was a phenomenal experience. And he said to all of us, we all have privilege, and we all have a responsibility to use that privilege. And that's really stuck with me in thinking about what it means. I think it's the responsibility for the earth, and to work with every person to find that joy in their heart and their skills and bring it forward.
Dax, I love this statement that you've shared. Every daily act can be an act of conservation. To this group in the room, what is your message to these individuals who may not be a tech startup person, a government leader, a business owner? To everyone in this room, how can we support all of your efforts?
Yeah. So I mean, this idea comes from Age of Union, from the book, and it was inspired by, and I'm looking at the rabbis over here, it's inspired by the mitzvah in Judaism. There is no small, there's 631 mitzvahs in the Torah, and they're not ranked by importance or size. It's like you do something for the greater purpose, and everything that anybody can do for that greater purpose is important. You know, so whether it's you choose to have a vegan meal instead of one that's more impactful on the planet, you choose your mode of transportation. You do anything with more consciousness. You step out of autopilot and think about consciously how your daily actions can be positive, not just for you, but the people around you that are watching. And I think that every single act is an opportunity, and every single act brings us closer to the broader change. And I think that those acts are their own reward, because when you do things with intention, you feel purpose. And I think that that's something that people are looking for. And if we know that we're doing things for the purpose of the health of our planet, I think it would make us happier.
Dax, I think you are truly special. I mean, how you combine spirituality with the arts, with your business acumen, and have it all focus on conservation, that's truly unique, my friend. So I wish you all the very best. As a tech startup person, I know you don't rest on your laurels. You're always looking forward to that next project. So what is next for Age of Union?
Yeah, so we spoke about Sea Shepherd. A lot of people have seen footage of us on the ship. So that's what myself, Emma, and the rest of the team, Marriott, we're all working on that next film that will come out in the fall. It's going to tell a really interesting story of an amazing change maker, Lamia, who's the core of this operation of Sea Shepherd France. And so we're really excited about that. There's more projects, of course, that we're talking to. But there's elements. There's at Age of Union, there's the content and editorial group. There's a physical space that we're going to be talking about, which I can't talk about today. But that's something that's going to be announced very, very soon. There's a technology platform that Andrew alluded to, because we've talked about it a lot, that we're building because we see all the commonalities between the projects and their common challenges in tracking and monitoring, and how do we make these projects more investable by making them more transparent to people that want to invest in them and donate into them. So there's a lot of work to do. And I think it's exciting work because ultimately I think that we can make a contribution.
Well, hopefully all of us in this room are going to get on board, because I don't think we want to miss out on the incredible work that Age of Union and Andrew and Nancy are doing with their organizations. Everyone, please join me in thanking our incredible panelists. Before we turn it over to Dax for final remarks, we just want to remind everyone, we're inviting everyone to the reception that will continue in the grand foyer. The bar will be open and there'll be nibbles as well. Andrew, Nancy, and Dax will be there to answer any questions you have on tonight's film, Age of Union. My name is Fred Lee, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get to drinks really quickly. I just want to make some quick thank yous. Thank you, Fred Lee, for moderating and hosting us. Thank you so much, Andrew Day, the whole team at BC Parks Foundation, the amazing work that we're investing in. They're an incredible team. Thank you to Nancy for being a part of the panel, and Krista and everybody at NCC. You see with the incredible work NCC does here in BC. I'm learning about the work they're doing, and you saw what they're doing on the St. Lawrence River that we're supporting. So a big round of applause to NCC. Thank you to my beautiful family. I have my mother, my father, my sister, but also all sorts of cousins and aunts and uncles and family friends. It's incredible to have everybody, and then all of my friends, and of course some honored guests, David Suzuki, the minister, and I want to thank as well NKPR. NKPR, you've spoken to all of them with the invitations. Victoria, Nathan, Michelle, they've all been so amazing at putting together this event so that we can now just enjoy ourselves and celebrate what I think is going to be an amazing road to where we want to get to in conservation. All right? Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here.